Pay attention to the woman stepping out of the white Lexus sedan in the parking structure at Lenox Square Mall, Level 3, Section D, March 22nd, 2019, 2:17 p.m. The driver's side door opens and she emerges tall, elegant, moving with the kind of confidence that comes from years of walking runways. Her name is Destiny Clark. She is 24 years old. She's wearing a cream-colored blazer over a black dress, her natural hair pulled back into a sleek bun. She's on her way to what she believes is a casting call for a major campaign, a breakthrough opportunity. The email came from someone claiming to be a senior talent scout for a luxury brand, expanding their Atlanta presence. She locks the car, adjusts her portfolio bag on her shoulder, checks her phone one last time before heading toward the elevator. Now, pay attention to the silver Toyota Camry that's been idling 3 spaces away for the past 11 minutes. The driver has been watching her since she arrived. Within 2 hours, Destiny Clark's phone would be turned off permanently. Within 3 days, her mother would be filing a missing person report that police would initially dismiss. Within 8 months, her best friend would walk past a department store window and stop cold, staring at a mannequin that looked impossibly, horrifyingly familiar. This was not a casting call, this was a trap, and Destiny Clark walked straight into it. Welcome to Missing Uncovered. If this story hits home, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Now, let's begin. December 15th, 2019. Nearly 9 months after Destiny Clark vanished. Perimeter Mall in Dunwoody, just north of Atlanta. Saturday afternoon, holiday shopping season in full swing. The mall is packed families, couples, teenagers, clustered around food court tables. Christmas music plays from overhead speakers. Store windows are decorated with garland and lights. Keisha Williams is 26 years old, Destiny's best friend since their freshman year at Clark Atlanta University. They met in a fashion merchandising class and became inseparable, shared an apartment senior year, collaborated on styling projects, dreamed together about breaking into Atlanta's fashion industry. When Destiny started getting modeling gigs, Keisha was always there, helping with wardrobe choices, taking behind-the-scenes photos for Instagram, celebrating every booking like it was her own. For 9 months, Keisha has been searching. She's plastered Atlanta with missing person posters. She's organized search parties that yielded nothing. She's harassed police departments, hired a private investigator she couldn't afford, spent hours scrolling through security camera footage from Lenox Square that showed Destiny entering the parking structure but never showed her leaving. The detective assigned to the case keeps telling her that young women sometimes just need to get away. That Destiny probably went to New York or Los Angeles to pursue bigger opportunities without telling anyone. Keisha knows better. Destiny would never just disappear. Not without her phone. Not without her car, which was found exactly where she left it 3 days after she vanished, keys still in her purse in the trunk. On this December afternoon, Keisha is holiday shopping with her sister, trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy even though nothing feels normal anymore. They're walking past Macy's when Keisha glances toward the window display. She stops walking. Her sister continues a few steps before realizing Keisha isn't beside her anymore. Turns back, asks what's wrong. Keisha doesn't respond. She's staring at the mannequin in the center of the window display. It's positioned among artificial snow and wrapped presents, wearing an emerald green evening gown. The mannequin is black, with a bald head and delicate features. Professional styling. Expensive wig displayed on a stand beside it. But it's not the styling that makes Keisha's blood run cold. It's the face. The exact shape of the cheekbones. The precise angle of the jaw. The way the nose curves. The placement of the ears. She's looked at Destiny's face in photographs every single day for 9 months. She knows every detail, every angle. The mannequin looks exactly like Destiny Clark. Her sister asks again what's wrong. Keisha points at the window. Says, "That's Destiny. That's her face." Her sister looks, sees a mannequin. Says gently that grief can make people see patterns that aren't there. That it's just a mannequin. That lots of mannequins can look similar. But Keisha knows what she's seeing. She pulls out her phone, finds one of the hundreds of photos she has of Destiny, holds it up next to the window, identical. The same elongated oval face shape, the same high cheekbones, the same slightly pointed chin, the same elegant neck length. Even the way the mannequin's head is tilted, it's exactly how Destiny used to pose for photos. That signature angle that photographers loved. Keisha's hands are shaking. She tells her sister to call the police. Her sister hesitates, says they need to think about this rationally. Keisha walks into Macy's alone. March 22nd, 2019. Let's go back to the beginning, to the day Destiny Clark disappeared. Destiny had been modeling professionally for 3 years. Not high fashion, not major campaigns, the grind of local work that most models survive on. Bridal shows, hair salon promotional shoots, occasional runway work for local designers, department store catalogs. She made enough to supplement her income from her day job as a visual merchandiser at Anthropologie in Buckhead. She was good, professional, reliable. Her portfolio was strong, but she hadn't caught her big break yet. The email arrived on March 18th, 4 days before she vanished. It came from an address claiming to be associated with a luxury cosmetics brand launching a new campaign focused on natural beauty and diverse representation. The email was professional, well written. It mentioned specific details from Destiny's online portfolio. It invited her to an initial meeting and screen test at a temporary studio space the company was using while scouting Atlanta talent. The meeting was scheduled for Friday afternoon, March 22nd at 2:30 p.m. The location was listed as a suite in an office building adjacent to Lenox Square Mall. Destiny was excited. She told Keisha about it, showed her the email. Keisha thought it looked legitimate. She'd seen similar opportunities come through before. They celebrated that night over dinner. Destiny spent the next 3 days preparing. She updated her portfolio. She practiced her walk. She researched the brand online and found what appeared to be a legitimate company website with all the right corporate language and imagery. On Friday morning, March 22nd, Destiny woke up at 6 a.m. She went to the gym. She came home and spent 2 hours on hair and makeup. She chose her outfit carefully, professional but stylish. The cream blazer and black dress that would show up clearly on the parking structure cameras. She left her apartment in Midtown at 1:45 p.m., giving herself plenty of time to arrive early. She texted Keisha at 1:52 p.m. "On my way, wish me luck." Keisha responded, "You're gonna kill it. Call me after." That was the last communication anyone had with Destiny Clark. Security cameras at Lenox Square captured her entering the parking structure at 2:14 p.m. She parked on level 3, section D, at 2:17 p.m. The cameras show her exiting her vehicle, gathering her bag, checking her phone, and walking toward the elevator. The angle of the cameras doesn't capture the elevator itself, but the timestamp shows she would have reached it around 2:19 p.m. After that, nothing. No footage of her in the mall. No footage of her in any of the office building lobbies. No footage of her leaving the parking structure. When police finally reviewed the tapes, they found her white Lexus still parked in the same spot 3 days later, untouched. By 6 p.m. that evening, Keisha was worried. Destiny always called after important meetings. Always. Keisha tried calling. The phone rang once, then went straight to voicemail. She tried texting. The messages showed as delivered but not read. By 8 p.m., Keisha was calling everyone they knew. No one had heard from Destiny. By 10 p.m., she was calling hospitals. By midnight, she was filing a missing person report. The detective assigned to Destiny's case was a veteran named Raymond Tucker. He'd been with Atlanta PD for 19 years. He was polite when he met with Keisha and Destiny's mother, Vanessa Clark. But his questions revealed his assumptions. Did Destiny have a boyfriend? Any relationship problems? Any financial troubles? Was she unhappy with her career? Had she mentioned wanting to leave Atlanta? Vanessa, a 52-year-old pediatric nurse who raised Destiny as a single mother, answered every question with increasing frustration. No boyfriend. No relationship drama. Destiny was happy. She was close with her family. She called her mother every Sunday without fail. She had plans for Easter dinner next month. She would never just leave. Detective Tucker took notes. He said young people sometimes need space, that the modeling industry was unstable and stressful. that Atlanta was a transient city, and people often moved on to bigger opportunities without much warning. He said they'd investigate, but his tone suggested he'd already made up his mind about what happened. The official investigation lasted less than 2 weeks. Police confirmed that Destiny's car was found in the Lenox Square parking structure with her purse in the trunk, containing her wallet and keys. They contacted the email address that sent the casting call invitation. The account had been deleted. They traced the IP address to a public library in Roswell, 15 miles north of Atlanta. They checked hotel records, bus stations, airports. Nothing. They interviewed Destiny's friends, family, co-workers. Everyone said the same thing. She would never disappear voluntarily. After 2 weeks, the case went cold. Detective Tucker told Vanessa that they'd done everything they could, that sometimes people just vanish and there's no explanation, that if any new evidence emerged, they'd reopen the investigation. Vanessa kept searching. She took time off work, drove through Atlanta neighborhoods, showed Destiny's photo to anyone who would look. Keisha joined her. They printed 5,000 missing person flyers and distributed them across the metro area. They created a Facebook page that gained moderate traction, but led nowhere. They hired a private investigator named Marcus Jennings, a former cop who specialized in missing persons cases. He worked the case for 6 months. He found nothing. No witnesses who remembered seeing Destiny after she entered that parking structure. No digital trail. No financial activity. No phone pings. Nothing. By September 2019, Marcus told them honestly that the trail was too cold. That whoever took Destiny, if someone took her, had been very careful. That without new evidence, there was nowhere else to look. He didn't charge them for the final month of his work. Vanessa kept Destiny's bedroom exactly as she left it. The modeling portfolio on the desk. The vision board on the wall covered with magazine cutouts and inspirational quotes. The collection of vintage fashion magazines stacked beside the bed. Every Sunday, Vanessa lit a candle in the window. Every month, she called Detective Tucker's office. They always said the same thing: no new developments. Keisha couldn't let go either. She kept investigating on her own, following leads that led nowhere, spending hours scrolling through social media, looking for any trace of Destiny. Her friends started telling her she needed to move on. Her therapist suggested she was avoiding her own grief by focusing on the investigation. But Keisha knew something everyone else seemed to have forgotten. Destiny Clark did not just disappear. Someone took her. Someone planned it carefully. And somewhere, there had to be evidence. December 15th, 2019. Back to Macy's. Keisha walks through the store toward the window display, her sister trailing behind. She approaches a sales associate, a young woman folding sweaters, near the entrance. Keisha asks about the mannequin in the window. Who makes it? Where it came from? The associate says she doesn't know, that the visual merchandising team handles all the displays. Keisha asks to speak to whoever's in charge of visual merchandising. The associate radios someone. 5 minutes later, a woman in her 40s appears, introduces herself as Patricia Lee, the store's visual merchandising manager. Keisha explains that she believes the mannequin in the window is modeled after her missing friend. Patricia looks skeptical but polite. She says the mannequins come from their corporate supplier, that they're just standard display models, that they're designed to have generic, appealing features. Keisha pulls out her phone, shows Patricia the photos of Destiny, asks her to really look. Patricia's expression changes. She looks at the phone, then toward the window, then back at the phone. She says quietly that the resemblance is striking. Keisha asks where the mannequin came from specifically. Patricia says she'd need to check their receiving records. She goes to her office, returns 10 minutes later with a folder. The mannequin was delivered in October, part of a bulk order from a company called Premier Display Solutions based in Marietta, just north of Atlanta. It came with about 20 other mannequins, all different styles and poses, part of their holiday refresh. Keisha takes a photo of the paperwork with her phone, asks if she can see the mannequin up close. Patricia hesitates, then agrees. She leads Keisha through a back hallway to the loading area, where they access the window displays from behind. Up close, the resemblance is even more disturbing. The mannequin's features are impossibly precise. This isn't a generic face. This is a specific face. Destiny's face. The exact proportions. The exact bone structure. Even the slight asymmetry of the eyebrows. Destiny's left eyebrow naturally arched higher than her right. A tiny detail only someone who knew her would notice. The mannequin has it. Keisha's hands are shaking as she takes photos from every angle. Her sister is now convinced something is genuinely wrong. Patricia looks uncomfortable, like she's realized this situation is beyond her expertise. Keisha calls 911 from the loading dock. The dispatcher asks what the emergency is. Keisha explains that her friend has been missing for 9 months. That she just found a mannequin in Macy's that appears to be modeled from her friend's face. That this could be evidence in a missing person case. The dispatcher sounds skeptical but says she'll send an officer. 2 patrol officers arrive 45 minutes later. They listen to Keisha's explanation. They look at the photos on her phone. They look at the mannequin. One officer, a young white man who looks barely old enough to be on the force, says mannequins often look like real people because they're designed to appeal to shoppers. The other officer, an older black woman named Officer Renee Davis, looks more carefully. She examines the mannequin's face, looks at Destiny's photos, asks Keisha specific questions about when Destiny disappeared, what the investigation found, whether any evidence suggested foul play. Officer Davis radios her supervisor. She explains the situation, says this warrants further investigation. She takes the paperwork information from Patricia. She takes Keisha's statement in detail. She photographs the mannequin from multiple angles. She tells Keisha that she's going to contact the detective who handled Destiny's missing person case, that someone will follow up. 3 days later, no one has followed up. Keisha calls the police department. She's transferred 4 times before reaching someone who has any information. A sergeant tells her that they looked into it, that the mannequin is just a mannequin, that Premier Display Solutions is a legitimate company that manufactures thousands of mannequins, that the resemblance is likely coincidental. Keisha doesn't believe him. She gets the address for Premier Display Solutions from the paperwork she photographed. It's in an industrial area of Marietta. She drives there the next morning. The building is a large warehouse with a small office attached. The sign out front is simple. Premier Display Solutions. Mannequins and display fixtures. Keisha parks and walks into the office. A receptionist greets her. Keisha says she's interested in ordering custom mannequins for her boutique, asks about their design process. The receptionist gives her a brochure, explains that they do both standard models and custom work. Custom mannequins can be designed from photographs if clients want specific looks. Keisha asks if she can see their showroom. The receptionist says they don't usually allow walk-ins, but she can arrange an appointment. Keisha makes an appointment for the following week, leaves, and immediately calls Vanessa. Vanessa meets her at a coffee shop in Buckhead. Keisha shows her the photos of the mannequin. Vanessa stares at the images on Keisha's phone. Her hands start to shake. She says softly, "That's my baby's face." They go to the police department together. They demand to speak to Detective Tucker. He's not available. They wait for 3 hours. When he finally appears, he looks tired and irritated. They show him the photos. He looks at them briefly. He says what the sergeant said. The resemblance is striking, but probably coincidental. Mannequin manufacturers use face models. They create designs based on composite features. It's not unusual for mannequins to resemble real people. Vanessa asks if he's going to investigate. He says there's nothing to investigate. A mannequin is not evidence of a crime. Unless Keisha or Vanessa have concrete proof that something illegal occurred, his hands are tied. Keisha asks, "What if someone made a mannequin from a missing person? What if this is evidence that she's dead? That someone took her, and she can't finish the sentence?" Detective Tucker sighs. He says he understands their pain. He says he knows they want answers, but he can't launch an investigation based on a mannequin that looks like someone. That's not how it works. Vanessa stands up. She says, "My daughter did not disappear into thin air. Someone took her. And if you won't find out what happened to her, I will." Vanessa and Keisha go back to Premier Display Solutions. This time, they're not pretending to be customers. They walk into the office and ask to speak to the owner. The receptionist says he's not available. Vanessa says she'll wait. They sit in the lobby for 2 hours until a man in his 50s emerges from the back. He introduces himself as Gerald Hoffman, owner of Premier Display Solutions. He asks what he can do for them. Vanessa shows him the photos of the mannequin from Macy's and the photos of Destiny. She asks if his company made that specific mannequin. Hoffman examines the photos carefully. He says it's hard to tell from photos, but the style looks consistent with their work. He says they produce hundreds of mannequins. He can check their records if she has a serial number. Keisha shows him the paperwork she photographed from Macy's. Hoffman takes it to his office. Returns 15 minutes later. He confirms that yes, they sold that mannequin to Macy's as part of a bulk order in October. It's one of their semi-custom designs. He says someone commissioned it as part of a small batch 5 identical mannequins created from a specific design template. Vanessa asks who commissioned it. Hoffman says he'd need to check. He goes back to his office. When he returns, his expression has changed. He looks uncomfortable. He says the order was placed by a man named Derek Moss, who paid in cash for the commission. He provided photographs and specifications for the face design. The mannequins were created in September and October, delivered to Macy's and several other department stores in the region. Keisha asks if she can see the photographs that were provided for the design. Hoffman hesitates. He says those are confidential client materials. Vanessa says her daughter has been missing for 9 months, and this mannequin has her face. Hoffman says he's sorry, but he can't share proprietary client information without a court order. Vanessa asks for Derek Moss's contact information. Hoffman says he can't provide that either. Client confidentiality. Keisha says she's going to call the police. Hoffman says that's her right, but he's done nothing illegal. Creating a mannequin isn't a crime, even if it resembles someone specific. They leave. In the parking lot, Vanessa calls Detective Tucker again. She explains what they learned. He says he'll look into it, but he needs them to stop harassing businesses. Vanessa says, harassing? Her daughter is missing, and they found a mannequin with her exact face. Detective Tucker says he understands, but they need to let him do his job. Keisha starts researching Derek Moss online. It's a common name. She finds dozens of Derek Mosses in Georgia. She starts calling them one by one. None of them have any connection to Premier Display Solutions or mannequin manufacturing. Meanwhile, Vanessa can't stop thinking about what Hoffman said. 5 identical mannequins. If Destiny's face is on one mannequin in Macy's at Perimeter Mall, where are the other 4? Over the next 2 weeks, Vanessa and Keisha drive to every major department store in the Atlanta metro area. They walk through the stores methodically, examining every mannequin in every display. It's tedious, exhausting work. Most stores have dozens of mannequins. Most look nothing like Destiny. But at Nordstrom in Lenox Square, the same mall where Destiny disappeared, they find it. A mannequin in the women's contemporary section wearing a burgundy jumpsuit. The same face. Destiny's face, identical to the one at Macy's. At Dillard's in Cumberland Mall, they find another one. In the activewear section, wearing yoga pants and a sports bra. At Belk in North Point Mall, they find the 4th one. In evening wear, 4 mannequins, 4 different stores, all with Destiny Clark's face. They photograph each one. They document the locations. They get the receiving information from each store. All of them received their mannequins from Premier Display Solutions between September and November 2019, months after Destiny vanished. The pattern is unmistakable. Someone commissioned multiple mannequins designed specifically to look like Destiny Clark, and that someone used a fake name to do it. Vanessa takes all the documentation to the police. Detective Tucker finally agrees that this warrants investigation. He contacts Premier Display Solutions with an official request for Derek Moss's information and the photographs used to create the mannequins. Gerald Hoffman, through his attorney, provides the information. The address Derek Moss listed on his order form is a mailbox rental facility in Alpharetta. The phone number is disconnected, but Hoffman does provide the photographs, and when Detective Tucker shows them to Vanessa and Keisha, they confirm what Vanessa already knew in her bones. The photographs are of Destiny Clark. They're not from her professional portfolio. They're personal photos. candid shots that appear to have been taken without her knowledge. Photos of her at a coffee shop. Photos of her at the gym. Photos of her walking down the street. Surveillance photos. Detective Tucker's entire demeanor changes. This is no longer a cold missing person case. This is evidence of stalking. This is evidence of premeditation. This is evidence that someone was watching Destiny Clark, planning something, and then commissioned mannequins of her face after she disappeared. The investigation reboots with new urgency. A detective from the Major Crimes Unit, Lieutenant Angela Brooks, takes over the case. She's a 43-year-old veteran investigator with a reputation for tenacity. She interviews Hoffman extensively. She gets security footage from Premier Display Solutions showing Derek Moss, a white man in his early 40s, average height, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, never showing his face clearly to the cameras. He came in twice, once to place the order and provide the photographs, once to pay in cash and arrange delivery. Angela traces the mailbox rental. The facility's records show Derek Moss rented the box for 3 months, paid cash, provided a driver's license that forensics later determines is fake. The license used a real person's identity, a Derek Moss, who died in 2003. Angela examines the photographs provided to Premier Display Solutions. Forensics analyzes the metadata. The photos were taken between January and March 2019, in the weeks leading up to Destiny's disappearance. Location data from some of the images places them near Destiny's apartment in Midtown, near the anthropology store where she worked, near the gym she frequented. Angela realizes what they're dealing with. Destiny Clark was being stalked for months before she vanished. The fake casting call was likely the trap. Whoever took her was obsessed enough to commission mannequins of her after she disappeared a grotesque trophy, or perhaps something darker. Angela digs deeper into the email that lured Destiny to Lenox Square. The account was created on a public computer at a Roswell library 3 weeks before it was used. The IP address shows it was accessed multiple times from various public locations, libraries, coffee shops, always places without security cameras aimed at the computers. This person was careful, methodical, experienced. Angela broadens the investigation. She starts looking at other missing persons cases in Georgia involving young women in the modeling or entertainment industry. She finds 3 cases in the past 5 years, with disturbing similarities. Women in their 20s, African American, lured to meetings or auditions via professional-seeming emails, vanished without a trace. Cases that went cold quickly because there was no physical evidence. One case stands out. Simone Patterson, a 22-year-old aspiring actress who disappeared in Savannah in 2017 after responding to a casting call for a local commercial. Her family reported her missing. Police found her car at a shopping center. No leads. Case went cold. But when Angela contacts Simone's mother, she learns something chilling. 6 months after Simone vanished, her mother saw a mannequin in a department store in Savannah that looked exactly like her daughter. She reported it to police. They dismissed it as grief-induced pattern recognition. The mother didn't pursue it further because everyone told her she was seeing things that weren't there. Angela drives to Savannah. She finds the department store. She finds the mannequin still there, still in the same window display where Simone's mother first saw it 2 years ago. She photographs it. The resemblance to Simone's photos is undeniable. Angela contacts the store's corporate office. She traces the mannequin back to its supplier, not Premier Display Solutions, a different manufacturer, Southeastern Display Concepts, based in Savannah. Angela visits Southeastern Display Concepts. She gets their records. The mannequin was commissioned by a man who called himself Richard Lane, paid cash, provided photographs, left a fake address and disconnected phone number. The owner describes the man: white, 40s, average height, wore a baseball cap, avoided looking directly at security cameras. The same person. Or someone using the same method. Angela returns to Atlanta. She briefs the FBI. The case has just become a multi-state serial predator investigation. The FBI assigns 2 agents to work with Angela. Special agents Marcus Reed and Jennifer Cho. They bring resources the local police don't have. They create a profile based on the pattern of behavior: organized offender, patient, willing to invest significant time and money into stalking victims, displays his trophies publicly through the mannequins, likely has experience in photography or surveillance. They examine the photographs used to create both Destiny's and Simone's mannequins. They're all taken from distances suggesting telephoto lenses. Professional equipment, someone who knows what they're doing. They analyze the fake identities used. Both Derek Moss and Richard Lane were identities of men who died young, in the early 2000s. Before extensive digital records, someone who knows how to create believable fake IDs using real people's information. They pull security footage from every location associated with the mannequin commissions. In both Atlanta and Savannah, the man keeps his face hidden, always positions himself away from direct camera angles, knows where the blind spots are. But in one piece of footage from Premier Display Solutions, as he's leaving after his second visit, he turns slightly, and the camera catches a partial profile. The image is grainy, but it's something. FBI's facial recognition runs the partial profile through databases. They get 17 possible matches. Most are ruled out quickly. But one stands out. Trevor Hollis, a 44-year-old commercial photographer based in Atlanta. No criminal record. Runs a small photography business focusing on product and promotional work. Has a studio in an industrial area near the airport. They run a deeper background check. Has no red flags. Pays his taxes. No complaints, no lawsuits, nothing remarkable. But when they check his client list and work history, they find something interesting. In 2016 and 2017, he did some freelance work for Southeastern Display Concepts in Savannah, photographing mannequins for their catalog. He has a direct connection to the Savannah manufacturer. FBI gets a warrant to search his studio. On January 8th, 2020, they execute it. What they find inside confirms their worst fears. Trevor Hollis isn't home when the FBI arrives at his studio at 6 a.m. The building is a converted warehouse in an industrial park. The front area is set up as a professional photography studio with lights, backdrops, equipment. Everything looks legitimate. But in the back room, behind a locked door, they find his real workspace. 3 walls covered with photographs. Not professional product shots. Surveillance photos. Hundreds of them. Photos of women. Young African American women. Women walking to their cars. Women at coffee shops. Women at gyms. Women who have no idea they're being photographed. Some of the photos have notes written on them in small, neat handwriting. Locations, times, schedule patterns. They find printouts of social media profiles, Instagram accounts, Facebook pages, LinkedIn profiles, all young women in modeling, acting, entertainment fields in Atlanta and surrounding areas. Some of the profiles have been annotated with potential opportunities and approaches. They find folders with email drafts, fake casting calls, fake audition notices, fake professional opportunities, templates, ready to be customized. They find business cards for various fake identities. Derek Moss, Richard Lane, others. They find a laptop. Forensics will later extract thousands of deleted emails, browsing history showing research on missing persons cases, forums about crime investigation techniques, searches for how long DNA evidence lasts, how police trace digital communications. They find a locked filing cabinet. Inside are folders labeled with names. The folders contain detailed dossiers on women, personal information, schedules, photographs. One folder is labeled Simone. Another is labeled Destiny. There are 7 other folders with names. But they don't find the women. They don't find bodies. They don't find any physical evidence of what happened to the victims after they were taken. The studio is meticulously clean. No blood. No DNA evidence except Trevor's own. No weapons. No restraints. Nothing that conclusively proves murder or abduction. What they do find, in a storage unit whose key is discovered in Trevor's desk, are the commissioned photographs the original sets used to create the mannequins. Professional quality prints, organized in portfolios, labeled with dates. Simone's photos date to mid-2017, shortly after she vanished. Destiny's photos date to early 2019, shortly after she vanished. Trevor Hollis returns to his studio at 3 p.m. that day. FBI agents are waiting. They arrest him on stalking charges to start. They have enough to hold him while they build the larger case. In interrogation, Trevor asks for an attorney immediately. He says nothing. Not a single word. Over the next 3 months, FBI builds a case. They trace Trevor's movements. They find evidence that he was in Savannah when Simone Patterson disappeared. They find evidence that he was near Lenox Square Mall the day Destiny Clark vanished. They find rental car records. They find hotel receipts. They find his digital footprint at crime scenes. They identify the other 7 women in his file. 3 are missing persons cases from Georgia and surrounding states. All still unsolved. 4 are women who are still alive. Women Trevor was apparently stalking but hadn't yet approached. FBI contacts all 4. They're brought in for protection. They're shown Trevor's surveillance photos of them. None of them knew they were being watched. Forensics examines Trevor's photography equipment. They find deleted photos on memory cards, showing some of the women in distress. Photos taken in locations that don't match any known properties owned by Trevor. Dark rooms, concrete walls. One photo shows Destiny Clark, recognizably, her despite poor lighting, sitting on a floor, her hands behind her back, in a position suggesting they're bound. But they can't identify the location. It's not Trevor's studio. It's not his home. He must have a second property, somewhere off the books. Detectives canvass Trevor's known associates. Most don't know much about him. He kept to himself, ran his business, seemed normal. But one former girlfriend from 2015, a woman named Lauren Gregory, tells investigators something disturbing. Trevor once mentioned owning a cabin in North Georgia. He said it was a family property, inherited from his grandfather, that he used for hunting and getting away. But when Lauren asked to visit it, Trevor became defensive and changed the subject. She never pressed the issue. FBI searches property records. There's no cabin registered to Trevor Hollis. But they expand the search to include properties registered to deceased family members. They find it. A small property in Dawson County, registered to Harold Hollis, Trevor's grandfather, who died in 2003. The property was never transferred. It exists in a bureaucratic gray area, paying minimal property taxes to an address that's Trevor's studio. FBI organizes a tactical team. On March 12, 2020, they approach the property. The cabin is remote, 40 minutes from the nearest town, accessed by a dirt road that's barely maintained, surrounded by dense woods. No neighbors within shouting distance. The perfect place to bring someone and ensure no one would hear them scream. The FBI team approaches with caution. The cabin appears abandoned. Windows are dark. No vehicles outside. No signs of recent activity. They knock. No response. They announce their presence. Silence. They breach the door. Inside, the cabin is sparsely furnished. A few pieces of old furniture covered in dust. A kitchen with empty cabinets. A bathroom with running water but no supplies. It looks like no one has been here in years. But in the back bedroom, they find a door that leads down. A basement. The stairs are new. Sturdy. Recently constructed. At the bottom of the stairs is a reinforced door with multiple locks. All unlocked. They push it open. The room beyond is perhaps 15 by 20 feet. Concrete floor. Concrete walls. No windows. A bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. A bucket in one corner. A thin mattress in another corner. And scratches marks on the walls. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Long marks where someone dragged their fingernails down the concrete until the nails broke. But the room is empty. No one is here. No bodies. No evidence of recent occupation. Forensics sweeps the room. They find DNA. Multiple contributors. They find blood, small amounts, consistent with fingernail injuries. They find hair. They find fibers. They find enough biological evidence to confirm that multiple people were held in this room. DNA testing will later confirm that some of the DNA belongs to Simone Patterson and Destiny Clark. But they're not here now. The room is empty. Trevor Hollis still refuses to talk. His attorney argues that the evidence is circumstantial. Yes, Trevor has a strange obsession. Yes, he stalked women. But stalking isn't murder. The DNA in the cabin proves the women were there at some point, but it doesn't prove Trevor killed them. There are no bodies, no weapons, no eyewitnesses, no confessions. The district attorney files charges anyway. 2 counts of kidnapping, multiple counts of stalking, charges related to the other women in Trevor's files. But without bodies, without definitive proof of death, they can't charge murder. The trial is scheduled for September 2020. But before it begins, something breaks the case wide open. A hiker in the Chattahoochee National Forest, about 30 miles from Trevor's cabin, discovers human remains in a ravine. The remains are partially decomposed but intact enough for identification. Forensics confirms through dental records. Simone Patterson. The discovery prompts a massive search of the surrounding area. Over the next 2 weeks, searchers find remains of 2 more women. One is identified as Destiny Clark through DNA confirmation. The third victim is a woman named Erica Monroe, who disappeared from Birmingham, Alabama in 2018. Her case had gone cold. Her family had no idea she was connected to Trevor Hollis until FBI contacted them. The remains are located in different areas, all within a 5-mile radius of Trevor's cabin. They were buried in shallow graves, covered with leaves and brush. Forest animals had disturbed some of the graves. The recovery is heartbreaking and meticulous. Cause of death for all 3, asphyxiation. They were suffocated. Forensics finds fibers consistent with plastic bags around the skulls. With bodies recovered, the district attorney upgrades charges to 3 counts of first-degree murder. Vanessa Clark finally gets to bring her daughter home. After more than a year of not knowing, of searching, of being told to move on, she has an answer. Not the answer she wanted, but an answer. Destiny's funeral is held at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. The service is standing room only. Her modeling friends, her co-workers from anthropology, her family, Keisha, Detective Angela Brooks attends. So do several FBI agents who worked the case. The pastor speaks about Destiny's light, her dreams, her kindness. He speaks about how she was taken too soon by evil but will be remembered for her spirit. Vanessa doesn't give a eulogy. She can't. She sits in the front row holding Keisha's hand, tears streaming silently down her face. After the service, she releases a statement through Angela. My daughter had a name, Destiny Clark. She was not a victim. She was not a statistic. She was my baby. And if that monster thought he could reduce her to something he owned, something he could display like a trophy, he was wrong. The world knows her name now. The world knows what he did. And he will answer for it. Add, Simone Patterson's funeral is held in Savannah. Her family releases a statement thanking the investigators who never stopped looking. Trevor Hollis's trial begins in November 2020. The prosecution presents overwhelming evidence. The surveillance photos, the stalking patterns, the fake identities, the cabin, the DNA, the recovered remains. They present testimony from the 4 women Trevor was actively stalking before his arrest, who described feeling watched, receiving strange communications, having the sense that someone was following them. The defense argues reasonable doubt. They claim the cabin was used by someone else. They claim Trevor's stalking behavior, while disturbing, doesn't prove he killed anyone. They claim the prosecution hasn't established definitive timeline proof that Trevor personally abducted and murdered the victims. The jury deliberates for 4 days. On November 19, 2020, they return a verdict. Guilty on all counts. 3 counts of first-degree murder, multiple counts of kidnapping, multiple counts of stalking. On December 3, 2020, Trevor Hollis is sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences, without possibility of parole. At sentencing, the judge allows victim impact statements. Vanessa Clark stands at the podium. She looks directly at Trevor Hollis, who sits at the defense table, showing no emotion. She says, "You thought you could make my daughter into something you owned. You thought you could take her life, and then parade her face around, like she was yours. But she was never yours. She was mine. She was her friends. She was this community's. And now everyone knows what you are. You're not a photographer. You're not an artist. You're a monster who preyed on young women with dreams. And you will spend the rest of your life in a cage, forgotten, while my daughter's name lives on. Trevor Hollis shows no reaction. He's led away in handcuffs. That's the last time Vanessa sees him. In the aftermath, changes begin to happen. Georgia legislators passed Destiny's Law in 2021, requiring mannequin manufacturers to register custom commissions and report any commissions that involve photographs of real people without documented consent. It's a small measure, but it's something. The FBI creates a database to track missing persons in the entertainment industry. Actors, models, performers who vanish after responding to professional opportunities. The database is intended to identify patterns before predators can strike multiple times. Keisha Williams starts a nonprofit called Find Them Foundation, dedicated to supporting families of missing persons, particularly in cases involving African American women and girls. The foundation provides resources for private investigators, forensic consultants, and awareness campaigns. Keisha speaks at universities and community events about recognizing stalking behavior and online predation. Vanessa returns to work as a pediatric nurse. She keeps Destiny's room as a memorial for 6 months, then slowly begins to change it. She donates Destiny's clothes to young women entering the modeling industry. She frames some of Destiny's favorite photographs. She keeps the vision board on the wall, all those dreams that will never be fulfilled, because she wants to remember that her daughter had plans, had hope, had a future that was stolen. Every year on March 22nd, the anniversary of Destiny's disappearance, a memorial service is held at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Friends, family, supporters gather. They share memories. They light candles. They say her name, Destiny Clark. Not a mannequin, not a trophy. A person, a daughter, a friend, a young woman with dreams who was taken too soon. The 4 mannequins are eventually removed from the department stores. Macy's, Nordstrom, Dillard's, and Belk all retire the displays out of respect. The mannequin from Savannah that resembles Simone Patterson is also removed. The companies issue statements apologizing to the families, acknowledging that they had no idea the mannequins were connected to criminal activity. Premier Display Solutions issues its own statement, implements new verification procedures for custom commissions, and establishes a fund to support victims of crimes related to their products. Gerald Hoffman personally apologizes to Vanessa and Simone's family, but apologies don't bring back the dead. Trevor Hollis remains in prison. He has never spoken about the murders. He has never explained why he commissioned the mannequins. Forensic psychologists who examined him during trial proceedings concluded that he likely viewed the mannequins as a way to maintain control over his victims after their deaths, displaying them publicly, knowing he was the only one who understood their true significance, a private joke at the world's expense. The FBI continues to investigate whether there are other victims. 3 of the 7 women in Trevor's files remain missing. Their families wait for answers. Search teams periodically return to the forests around Trevor's cabin, looking for more graves. So far, they've found none. The question that haunts investigators is what Trevor did with the victims between abduction and murder. The DNA evidence in the cabin basement suggests the women were held there. But for how long? Days? Weeks? Forensic analysis of Destiny's remains indicated she had been dead for approximately 6 months before discovery, meaning she survived for about 3 months after her abduction. What happened during those 3 months? Trevor will never say. Keisha still thinks about that day in December 2019 when she walked past Macy's and saw the mannequin. She thinks about how easily she could have dismissed it, like everyone told her to. How easily she could have believed she was seeing patterns that weren't there. Let grief cloud her judgment. But she didn't. She trusted her instincts. She refused to be dismissed. And because of that, Destiny came home. Not alive, but home. A mother knows, Vanessa told reporters after the trial. From the moment Destiny didn't call me that night, I knew something was wrong. I knew she didn't just leave. And I never stopped believing we'd find the truth. It took too long, and the truth is more horrible than I imagined. But at least now I know. At least now she's not lost anymore. Today, if you visit Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, there's a small memorial garden behind the building. In the center, is a stone bench with a plaque that reads, "In memory of Destiny Clark, Simone Patterson, Erica Monroe, and all those still missing. Your names matter. Your lives matter. You are not forgotten." Keisha visits the garden every Sunday. Sometimes Vanessa joins her. They sit on the bench. They don't always talk. Sometimes they just sit in silence, remembering. The faces on those mannequins were meant to be trophies for a killer, but they became something else. They became the evidence that broke the case open. They became the reason 3 families finally got answers. They became proof that when everyone tells you to let go, to move on, to stop seeing patterns, sometimes you're seeing exactly what's there. Sometimes your grief isn't making you crazy. Sometimes the impossible resemblance isn't coincidence. Sometimes you're right. Destiny Clark was missing for 9 months. She was murdered by a predator who thought he was clever enough to display her face in public as his private trophy. But he underestimated the power of a best friend who refused to believe, a mother who refused to give up, and a detective who finally listened. Trevor Hollis tried to reduce Destiny to an object, a mannequin, something lifeless he could control. But in the end, it was those mannequins that destroyed him. Evidence he arrogantly created himself. Destiny Clark is not lost anymore. She's buried at Oakland Cemetery in Atlanta, her grave marked with a headstone that includes a photo from her modeling portfolio, the one where she's laughing, full of life and hope. The inscription reads, "Destiny Clark, the 15th of March, 1995, the 22nd of March, 2019, beloved daughter, cherished friend, beautiful soul, your light lives on." That's how the world remembers her now. Not by how she was taken, not by the horror of what happened to her, but by the life she lived, the dreams she chased, and the love that refused to let her be forgotten. Those mannequins don't define Destiny Clark's story. Her mother's relentless search does. Her best friend's refusal to look away does. The truth that finally emerged does. And that's what remains. The truth, the memory, and a name that will never be reduced to a trophy. Destiny Clark. Say her name.